There is no relief right now for drivers that are paying $4, $5, or even $6 a gallon for gas. AAA says the national average right now is $4.22 a gallon. That is down 2 cents following the president's announcement that the National Strategic Oil Reserve would be tapped. Right now, the average cost of gas in Colorado is $3.96. Gas prices have been rising and falling for weeks now, and the weather is warming up, and many people may be wanting to go on road trips. Skyler Mckinley is joining us this morning. He's with AAA. And Skyler, you can really talk to us about these prices increasing, but they aren't only impacting car travel, but air travel as well. I see these flights are ridiculous right now.
Yeah, basically in this country, we've structured our economy around crude oil that comes to shipping goods and services and trucks, to hopping in your car to go to work, to getting on a plane to go on vacation. Prices are going to be up across the board, but certainly in the travel sector, certainly when it comes to filling up your car. And of course, we're seeing this now in airfare. So the tip there is to book as soon as you can, knowing that it's going to be a volatile summer for gas prices and for jet fuel prices.
And definitely one of those things that doesn't seem like it's going to be changing anytime soon. I know a lot of people have been looking at this. Why are some of these gas prices cheaper in some areas of Colorado, for example, maybe in the city, and then you have Greeley?
Yeah, so it all comes down to competition as well as some other factors of supply and demand. In major metro areas like Denver, there's enough supply coming in. There's also enough demand. There's a lot of competition between service stations who will compete on price. That keeps prices low. When you go into our I-70 corridor, those tend to be tourist areas where you've got a lot of demand and not a lot of competition. And then areas like Greeley sometimes tend to be the victims of just how the supply chain works out. It is not uncommon for Greeley or for Pueblo to sometimes have the cheapest gas in the state and sometimes the most expensive, just depending on how those supply lines are negotiated. So the gas market in Colorado is a lot more complex, and we don't really think about it until gas prices get high.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Lastly, Skyler, we talked about this at the very beginning of this, or I mentioned this at the top of this. With President Biden tackling these oil reserves, how long would these effects be noticeable, or how long could it potentially last?
Yeah, the release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is historic, but generally the president doesn't have a lot he can do to lower gas prices. So while that might level out some of the volatility, prices are going to be expensive throughout 2022. This is a function of the conflict in the Ukraine. It is a function of limited supply going into 2022, long before that war started. Prices will be high through Labor Day. We're going to see some slight spikes as we enter May, as we enter, of course, the summer driving season. But hopefully those week over week 50-cent or dollar jumps are over for the time being because of that release from the Strategic Reserve.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things to where, everyone gets a little bit happy as we see it drop a few pennies, or if we see it drop a nickel, but definitely something that we're going to have to prepare our wallets for as we continue to move on through the year. Skyler, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Definitely provided some useful information for our viewers.
Appreciate it.